lot of people say, and I hear this all the time, that science faculties at universities are pretty much free of political correctness. And it would be silly to assume that scientists don't have political leanings or opinions on things other than science. So no, STEM faculties are not void of political correctness and the silencing of what are considered unsavory opinions. I mean, look at the scientists that have been burned at the stake for going against the popular climate alarmism being pushed, not by all scientists, but mostly by the media to sell doomsday headlines and by politicians to gain political favor. There are scientists like Dr. Judith Curry and Dr. Tim Ball that simply criticize climate science and have basically been cast out of their circles as kooks for, well, being scientists and following the scientific method by questioning ideas. Dr. Curry is a climatologist and former professor, and even once chaired the School of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences at the Georgia Institute of Technology. Here, let me show you this video of Curry explaining to the House of Representatives what she thinks is wrong with climate science.
And the question is this: what are the uncertainties, complexities, biases involved with climate science or the study of climate science that need to be considered before we can actually make informed decisions about what to do about climate science?
Well, the greatest uncertainties in both our understanding and our ability to model the climate system relate to these items. The first is what I call the thermodynamic feedbacks related to clouds and water vapor. Climate models have a large amplifying effect from clouds and water vapor. The magnitude of this amplifying effect and even the sign are in dispute. A lot about the oceans that we don't understand, how the ocean transports heat and carbon in the vertical is not well represented in the climate models. We also have these very large-scale, long-term ocean oscillations, which play a huge role in determining our climate. These are not well simulated, and we don't have good documentation of the really long time period oscillations. The effects of the sun on climate, particularly the indirect solar effects. And I could go on, but I think those are the key issues.
So that sounds pretty reasonable, doesn't it? But take a listen to the way she's been treated for her opinions.
As a result of my analyses that challenge the IPCC consensus, I have been publicly called a serial climate disinformer, anti-science, and a denier by a prominent climate scientist. I've been publicly called a denier by a U.S. senator. My motives have been questioned by a U.S. congressman in a letter sent to the president of Georgia Tech. While there is much noise in the media and blogosphere and professional advocacy groups, I'm mostly concerned about the behavior of other scientists. A scientist's job is to continually challenge their own biases and ask, how could I be wrong? Scientists who demonize their opponents are behaving in a way that is antithetical to the scientific process. These are the tactics of enforcing a premature theory for political purpose.
And then there's Dr. Tim Ball, who has written multiple peer-reviewed papers on historical climatology and was a professor at the University of Winnipeg for several years. Ball has said that carbon dioxide is an important gas for plant life and oxygen production. He's been critical of greenhouse gas and human-induced climate change, and he's also criticized ocean acidification, among other topics. And for this, he's been accused of being paid to promote these ideas by the oil industry. And he's been accused of basically being a fake scientist, even though he has a PhD in geography and has written papers on historical climate. Okay, so Ball has done some research for oil companies, just as many other climate scientists have done research for the green energy industry. There have been a few lawsuits launched, both on behalf of Ball and other academics, showing just how contentious the issue of climate change is amongst scientists. Say what you will about these lawsuits, but the point is that you can't speak up against climate change without having a spotlight and negative attention cast on you as a scientist these days. And look, maybe you don't agree with what scientists like Judith Curry have to say. I happen to think these opinions are pretty reasonable myself, yet they get treated like these radical ideas. Here, take a look at these climate change activists at the Paris conference in 2015 and tell me who the real radicals are.
Là, là, mais putain, filmez ça! Filmez ça! Filmez ça!
Scientists like Curry and Ball are cast off as fake, and their remarkable bodies of lifelong work are reduced to their opinions on a contentious subject matter where there are legitimate concerns about the data. Judith Curry has now resigned her spot at Georgia Tech, citing her disenchantment with universities, the academic field of climate science, and scientists. Ball is now fighting legal battles, and I don't doubt he'll spend the rest of his life doing so. Legal fights are a tactic to break opponents both mentally and also financially. The thing is that these scientists don't even deny that climate is changing, and they're becoming completely delegitimized by doing their job of questioning science. So what happens to science when we shut down debate then? Who would the real fake scientists be in that situation? Even if you don't agree with their take on things, this is the way science progresses and evolves. Case in point, Charles Darwin, who was absolutely ridiculed over the theory of evolution. Yet here we are. Science is never settled and must always be questioned. But just like the silencing of ideas is occurring over academics that refuse to bend to the gender and social issues of the day on the other side of the spectrum, so are the ideas of those in academia that dare to criticize climate dogma. For the Rebel.media, I'm Holly Nicholas. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on the other side of the story on our Rebel Canada YouTube channel.